most of the headway, most of the progress, and it's going to continue.
And Tom, I agree with that 100% because on August 14th, 2018, when I stood in that Harrisburg room where the communications were and the TV cameras were, and Josh Shapiro was announcing, the results of the grand jury investigation, I don't think I ever felt prouder. With Jim Faluszczak sitting on stage, for example, watching, and Cindy Leach with a picture of her deceased son and all of those courageous victims, and the Attorney General saying, basically, I'm not talking about just a cover-up, I'm talking about the cover-up of a cover-up. And we've been calling for federal, state, and local investigations for decades now, and I can't tell you how the goosebumps that were part of my body, that were on my body, when I began to realize that 15 or 16 attorneys general now in the United States are looking at the Catholic Church and investigating. And there are so many levels now of law enforcement looking at this evil institution in many ways that created this mess. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we're on a real good path now, I think.
It's a new era. And I never expected over the years that I'd ever see this happening in our lives, where the law would take a look at the entire state, the whole Catholic Church, and Attorney Shapiro and Daniel Dye, the gentleman who actually ran the investigation. These men were fearless and they were brilliant. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they saw through a lot of the BS. And they went right to the core, and they came up with results.
Yeah,
that's what.
And on a personal level, I filed a lawsuit in 2005, and I called it organized crime. Yeah. And now, I've heard even law enforcement say to me, "You see, we're looking at this now as organized crime," and the good feeling I have about that my goodness, someone believed what I said in 2000. Someone is believing what I said in 2005, and maybe law enforcement will find this RICO, this organized crime aspect to this.
Well, I can tell you this: they're looking at it. I know that, and I remember when you filed your lawsuit, and a number of the things you said that for a lot of people were hard to believe, and they were prophetic. And I got to tell you, Bob, you need to be commended for having the courage to go public with that theory and that statement and that accusation, because you were right. You were right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Tom. And I never believed, like you said, I never believed that it would come to this, that maybe people will believe it now.
I think, well, if they don't, there's something radically wrong with the air we're breathing, because it is so obvious and so blatant.
Yep.
Let me say from my perspective, Tom Doyle was the first person that I spoke to before I made the decision to testify before the Pennsylvania grand jury. And Bob Hoatson is the first person I talked to after I testified. And I've been asking both of you guys for 2 years now, where do you think this stands? And Bob, as you and I have stood together, as Buffalo has followed the trajectory that it has the last 9 months, you've said again and again, we are at a different point in the history of this. And my sense as a survivor who's relatively new to advocacy, I feel that statute of limitations reform is inevitable. I feel that this all has a momentum that goes beyond any one of us at this point. And if there's anything that Tom and Bob have done for me, is give me just an enormous sense of hope And so this is what I would want to convey to any other victim thinking about coming forward, thinking about putting the church's feet to the fire, or doing any part of advocating for what needs to happen next. I just think that the changes that these guys have begun is going to result in positive results that at this point are just inevitable.
So, I mean, any pressing last comments? Because we're pretty much down to the last 45 seconds.
Let me just say to Jim, you're saying that you were inspired by Bob and I. You're the guy that stood up and did it. And that's what
Amen.
You could be super inspired, but you had the guts to get up there and talk and break through that barrier. And man, for that, a lot of people are grateful, including myself.
And Jim, you have done so much in such a little time that you've become an eloquent advocate for all of us, and it's great to have you aboard because you have done so much in so little time.